They didn't just lie to you, they calculated it. Betrayal isn't an accident. It's architecture. It's the quiet decision to watch you bleed when you thought they were building with you. You gave loyalty like a shield, but they turned it into a target and aimed straight at your trust. And now you're here, shoulders heavy with silence, stomach full of rage, wondering how the hell you'll ever walk again without flinching. You won't heal by pretending it didn't happen. You heal by remembering everything. Every smirk, every backhanded joke, every moment they measured your kindness as weakness. The truth is, you were too open, too generous, too unwilling to play the same cold games. But that ends now. Because once a man sees the inside of betrayal, he doesn't go back to being nice. He goes dark. He goes deep. He gets dangerous. You thought loyalty meant safety. It doesn't. Loyalty means nothing when given to the wrong people. And the moment they knew you'd never betray them, that's when they knew you were safe to betray. Read that again. They saw your loyalty as leverage, not value. And now they think you're finished. But what they don't know is that betrayal isn't your grave. It's your forge. This is the part they didn't write books about. The part where the man who was broken starts rebuilding in silence. Not to heal, but to hunt. Not to beg for closure, but to create distance so deadly it feels like punishment. Because staying strong after betrayal isn't about proving them wrong. It's about becoming someone they'll never have access to again. And that starts now. The fall. When loyalty becomes a weapon against you. Betrayal isn't loud. It doesn't kick in the door or scream in your face. It whispers slow, sharp, surgical, behind smiles, behind brother, behind every time they said they had your back. But Machiavelli said it best. Men are quicker to repay harm than kindness because kindness creates a debt. And the moment you gave without demand, they labeled you expendable. That's not your weakness. That was their calculation. You saw it, didn't you? The shift in their tone, the eye contact that didn't hold, the compliments that started to rot. You started to feel it before you had the proof. And you ignored it because the thought of betrayal was more painful than the betrayal itself. That's the trap. That's the poison. You want to believe loyalty protects you, but in the wrong hands, it paints a target right on your spine. They used your honesty as reconnaissance. They studied how much you take. They tested your silence. They watched you justify their distance, their disrespect, their inconsistencies. And each time you forgave what should have been punished, you trained them to betray you again. Not because they're evil, because they're opportunists. In the game of power, sentiment is suicide. And when you let someone feel superior to you, even by accident, you invite betrayal like an open door. Here's the first lesson. Betrayal doesn't come from enemies. It comes from those you fed. You bled beside them, planned beside them, laughed beside them, and they looked you in the eye while placing the dagger. Why? Because they saw that you needed them more than they feared you. And men only stay loyal to what they fear losing. Never forget that fear is more stable than love when survival's on the line. Now you're left staring at the wreckage, the texts you reread, the moments you replay, the rage you keep swallowing because part of you still wants them to apologize. But you need to hear me now. No apology is coming. Closure is a myth. The only thing real is this pain and what you do with it. Most men try to numb it. Smart men weaponize it. The rest, they die slowly from the inside out. You're not weak for trusting, you were just unarmed. But now you know the truth. People don't betray you because you were bad. They betray you because you weren't dangerous enough. And until you become a man who can walk away, cut ties, and never flinch, you will always attract users, leeches, and liars. So burn the loyalty you gave them. It's dead. And so is the version of you that let them feed off your silence. Comment below. I see it now. They didn't break me. They revealed me. Say it if you've stopped needing apologies. Say it if you've seen through the mask. This is the shift from confused to calculating. No more begging. No more softness. If you felt the blade twist, then speak like someone who's sharpening one of their own. The death. Burn. The version of you that loved too much. The version of you that begged to be understood is dead. Kill him again if he ever tries to speak. He was soft. He believed in fairness. He thought love meant safety and giving more meant they'd stay. But all it did was feed the wolves. In this world, they don't run from kindness. They circle it, smiling, waiting, measuring. The man you used to be thought vulnerability was strength, but it wasn't. It was bait. You kept loving through red flags because you were loyal to the potential of people, not the reality. You gave chances like a charity. You explained your heart like it was some open book they could dog-ear and toss aside. You listened when they lied. You stayed when they ghosted. You showed up while they vanished. And now you're here, broken, bitter, and boiling under a skin that still wants to be hugged by the hand that struck it. Here's the dark truth most men never accept. You were not betrayed by accident. You were selected. They saw your softness. They saw how much you wanted peace. And they knew you'd tolerate war if it meant you didn't have to walk away. That's why you became their doormat. Not because you weren't enough, but because you were too available, too giving, too afraid to become feared. They didn't hate you. They outgrew respecting you. So let me ask you now, how much longer will you protect the version of yourself that got betrayed? How long will you keep defending a man who couldn't defend himself? That part of you, the one that loved too much, trusted too quick, forgave too easily. He doesn't need healing. He needs to be buried. With a stone that reads, "He meant well." But meaning well isn't enough. Machiavelli taught us that men should either be crushed or feared, never in between. And right now you're stuck in between. Still hoping they'll realize what they lost. Still craving justice like it's some courtroom verdict. But justice doesn't come for men like us. Only power does. And that starts when you erase every trace of the boy who thought love was enough. Love is not enough. Not without leverage. Not without power. Not without control. You want strength? Then stop grieving who you were. Start training who you need to become. Stop looking for closure from cowards. Stop hoping your absence hurts them. They don't feel your absence because they never valued your presence. You don't rise by being remembered. You rise by becoming unrecognizable, cold, calculated, controlled. The death of your softness isn't the end. It's the beginning of your dominance. Comment below. He's dead. I'm not. Say it. If you've buried the old version of you, the one who gave too much. Let this be your turning point, not a therapy session. You don't heal from betrayal by talking about it. You burn the weakness and build something they'll never understand. The rebuild. How Machiavellian power begins with silence. Power doesn't begin with a scream. It begins with a disappearance. Not the kind where you vanish in weakness, but the kind where silence becomes the sharpest blade in the room. After betrayal, most men talk, they rant, they expose, they chase explanations from people who already answered with their actions. But the man who goes silent, he's not broken. He's building. And that silence, it's not retreat. It's rebirth behind a closed door with war on the other side. They expected you to react. That's why they betrayed you openly. They wanted your emotions to validate their control. But you didn't give them the show. You gave them nothing. No texts, no rants, no public fallouts. That's power. Because the man who can stay quiet while on fire is a man who's planning something. And that planning, the cold, calculated kind, is where true power starts to take form. Not in chaos. In control. Machiavelli said, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." But he also knew the power of perception. A man in silence forces the world to guess what he's thinking, where he's going, who he's becoming. That guessing game breeds fear, and fear breeds caution. And caution is the only respect you'll get in a world that feeds on loud weakness. So go silent. Not because you're lost, because you're locking in. This is the phase where you become a myth. You start removing access, removing explanations, removing the comfort people use to extract from you. The new version of you doesn't announce moves, he makes them. He doesn't ask for understanding. He demands results. He doesn't flinch at disrespect. He replaces you in silence and upgrades everything around him. Because the rebuild isn't about revenge. It's about reinvention without permission. Now, let me be clear. This isn't isolation out of pain. This is seclusion by design. You are not retreating to sulk. You are retreating to study, to sharpen your insight, to train your focus, to engineer the man who will walk back into the world untouchable. And during this phase, no one gets to see the blueprint. They only see the outcome when it's too late to stop it. You'll feel the urge to explain yourself, to call them, to prove that they lost something rare. Don't. That's the trap. They're not thinking about you. They've moved on. They'll only feel the gravity shift when your absence starts to echo. Not in silence, but in results. Let your upgrades haunt them. Let your glow-up speak in a language they no longer understand. That's the most violent kind of transformation. And as you rebuild, remember this. Silence doesn't mean passivity. It means everything is now on your terms. You decide who gets a call back. You decide who hears your voice. You decide what part of your past gets carried forward. You don't owe anyone your pain story. You owe yourself your evolution. Quiet, relentless, cold as steel, sharp as instinct. Comment below. They'll hear from me through outcomes, not outbursts. Say it if you've chosen silence over seeking closure. Say it if you've stopped talking and started transforming. This is the shift from loud hurt to lethal focus. Let the silence speak louder than your former self ever could. The strategy: outsmart, outlast, outcut. They thought you'd stay broken, but they didn't account for strategy. They mistook your silence for surrender. They thought distance meant defeat. And now, while they live loud and sloppy, you move like a blueprint. Quiet, sharp, focused. Because this is where the shift happens, from emotional to tactical, from betrayed to calculating, from reactive to surgical. You're no longer just rebuilding. You're hunting patiently, precisely, with no wasted motion. Strategy isn't about intellect. It's about control. You control how they remember you. You control what they hear. You control who gets access. You control where your energy flows. A weak man plays every card. A powerful man plays one and makes it look like 5. And if they don't see you coming, that's not a coincidence. That's the point. The loudest person in the room is always the most vulnerable. Stay quiet. Stay lethal. Machiavelli warned us to crush your enemies. Don't meet them in public combat. That's for fools with pride and no foresight. Instead, undermine them. Outlast them. Make their influence irrelevant before they even know it's crumbling. Win by eroding their position, not by attacking it. Leave no fingerprints. When they fall, no one even remembers your name. They just feel the shift. And suddenly, you're the one holding the rest. This isn't about revenge. That's emotional. This is about redesign. You are no longer playing to hurt them. You're playing to never be in that position again. You're studying people, watching behavior, testing for patterns and every weakness they exposed in you. Now you find it in others and you use it like a scalpel. Cold, clinical, controlled. Not to destroy everyone, just to ensure you're never outplayed again. A man without strategy is just a weapon in someone else's war. That was you before. Always responding, always explaining, always hoping the right people would understand your intentions. But strategy doesn't care about intentions. Strategy wins. That's it. So you plan your image, you plan your circles, you plan your reactions. And eventually you become a man who moves with such calculation that even chaos can't reach him. You'll know the strategy is working when you stop being invited to nonsense. When people get nervous around your silence, when they start asking, "What's he up to?" That's your advantage. That's the edge. Keep them guessing. Never let anyone know what matters most to you. Because once they do, they'll aim for it. That's human nature. So you protect your peace like a vault and guard your ambition like a loaded chamber. This is where the rebuild becomes war. Not with others, with the old habits trying to drag you back. The urge to explain, to seek validation, to break silence for temporary satisfaction. Kill it. Strategy demands discipline. You're not proving a point. You're building an empire. And the less they know about your moves, the more they'll fear your momentum. Let them drown in the mystery. Machiavelli believed men must appear virtuous while moving like devils. Smile, shake hands, say little. You don't need to be liked. You need to be effective. And if effectiveness requires you to disappear for a year, build in silence, and return unrecognizable, so be it. Because when the strategy is sound, the results speak so loud no one even remembers who doubted you. Every conversation is now data. Every betrayal is now fuel. Every fake friend is now a lesson in pattern recognition. You're not bitter. You're building filters. So now the question isn't, who wronged me? The question is, what system am I creating that makes betrayal impossible? That's the shift from pain to power. That's how kings think. Every loss is now leverage. Comment below. No more moves made out of emotion, only precision. Say it if you've stopped reacting and started orchestrating. Say it if you're done proving and started planning. Say it if you're no longer seeking justice because you're becoming it. And if you feel that calm, calculated fire rising, then part 5 is your coronation. The Empire. When you become the one no one dares betray. You are no longer rebuilding. You are now constructing an empire not made of stone, but of standards. One betrayal woke the war. But what you do after that writes the legacy. This isn't about them anymore. It's about you and the code you carve into every move from here forward. Because if a man survives betrayal and doesn't rise harder, colder, sharper, he didn't survive. He stalled. You didn't stall. You shifted. This is where you become the one no one dares to cross. Not because you're violent. Not because you scream, but because your presence demands weight. Because everything about you now radiates one unspoken law: you don't get to mishandle me twice. You've made the climb. You've stayed silent. You've built in shadows. And now you emerge, but not loud, not proud. You emerge calculated, armored in clarity, untouchable by noise. Empires don't beg. They don't explain. They don't ask for understanding. They dictate, strategically, subtly, with discipline that confuses the weak and humbles the arrogant. You are not here to make peace with the past. You are here to extract every ounce of leverage from it and use it to build a future so fortified even memory won't hurt you. Your empire starts where their access ends. That line was drawn the moment they betrayed you. You've studied people. You've learned how to watch what they do, not what they say. You've learned how proximity doesn't mean loyalty. You've learned that silence is safer than vulnerability, and solitude is more honest than applause. You are not cold. You are clear. And clarity will make you feared by the manipulative because you no longer bend to comfort. You only bow to strategy. This is when the tables turn. Now they watch you. They hear about you. They feel your absence like pressure. And if they dare reappear, they don't recognize the man in front of them because he no longer explains. He decides. He doesn't hope. He executes. He doesn't forgive. He forgets. Not out of pettiness, but because nothing from your past deserves a seat in your empire's court. That softness was stripped from you. And what's left? That's the weapon. Your circle is smaller now, but it's sharper. Your standards are higher. Your attention is sacred. You don't chase. You attract by being absolute. The way you speak, the way you move, the way you say nothing and still shift every room you enter, that's not ego. That's evolution. When a man has been betrayed and rises like this, he doesn't go back to being approachable. He becomes untouchable by design. Machiavelli would tell you this: power is not sustained by force. It's sustained by perception. Your enemies won't come for you when they believe your reach is longer than their ambition. So you stay 2 steps ahead. Always. Never reveal your full hand. Give people the version of you they can handle. The rest you keep locked behind discipline, purpose, and restraint. That's how empires are built. With walls, not windows. You've been through fire, but look at you now. Steel, not ash. You've been cut, but now you cut back with silence, with elevation, with the kind of dominance that doesn't need to be loud. Because everyone already feels it. This is what happens when betrayal doesn't break you, it crowns you. Not in gold, but in scars that became armor. In habits that became laws. In self-respect so high even your shadow knows to walk straight. Your peace is now earned. Your presence is now permission-based. And your love, if you ever give it again, comes with a condition: match my strength or stay the hell away. That's not bitterness. That's mathematics. You don't get burned twice by the same fire. Not if you're building an empire. And right now, everything you touch, your words, your moves, your silence, is part of that foundation. Here's what most men miss: empires aren't built with revenge. They're built with replacement. You replace the lies with clarity. You replace the traitors with killers. You replace the pain with power. And once you learn to walk alone, no one ever holds that power over you again. You don't just survive betrayal. You turn it into the fuel that makes you unreachable. And if one day they see you again, if they ever look you in the eyes and try to recognize the man they betrayed, let them stare. Let them feel it. Let them speak your name like it belongs to someone else. Because it does. The man they betrayed is gone. And the man standing here, he doesn't chase, he doesn't explain, he builds. Comment below: my silence was the blueprint. My presence is the empire. Say it if your past no longer has access to you. Say it if your scars are now the borders of a kingdom. Say it if you've turned betrayal into strategy, silence into power, and pain into permanence. And if you're standing in the ruins of who you used to be, don't mourn. Conquer. If this hit you, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because we are not here to recover quietly. We are here to become untouchable.